Hey, greetings Patreon supporters and YouTube viewers. I just want to make a quick video to show this Central Vac nozzle that I picked up. The nozzle was free to me, given to me by a friend. And I've showcased this nozzle before when I repaired a friend's SEBO, but now it's in a very different place. This nozzle is, it's on the end of my Central Vac. And you'll notice that there is a wand that seamlessly integrates to this nozzle. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to use any SEBO nozzle with Central Vac. And the advantage, of course, with this is I can put a disco attachment or another nozzle or a bare floor tool on the end of my Central Vac to test it without having to buy a modern SEBO. And I still get the power of my Central Vac, which is more than a portable vacuum. As good as SEBOs are, a Central Vacuum is always going to be better. So I've got the usual pickup test, of course. And if you're not familiar with this nozzle, there's no pedal. You kind of push into it, kind of like an old TriStar nozzle, if you're familiar with that, and just go to town. So let's go ahead and do this. Alright folks, you don't usually see this, but I've got two machines on my bench. And this is actually very common when I worked in the industry, that we have two machines on the bench. But I was trying to diagnose whatever the electrical problems were with this, and right now my guess is possibly a faulty switch, though I tested it and it looked alright. But the way the switch interacts with the board is a little bit more precise than maybe I'm able to test. It's hard to tell. Now I did date this machine, this version of this, and I have the date wheel is 2003, and this one over here is 2002, so we could say 2003. Now one thing I did notice is that the squeegee that sits inside here is gone, so that will need to be replaced. Couple other things that were different than the repair that I did last time is this is actually held together with pins instead of screws, which I thought was really interesting on this section. Now there are some screws obviously, but some of these parts are just pins. I think that's really weird that some of these are put together like that and some of these actually have screws in them, like the newer SEBO. So I suspect this to be kind of the first part of this design. I'm going to go ahead and start putting this together. A good friend of mine's actually going to come over and take a look at this with me, and we're going to kind of decide this together. You know, there was so much hair and debris and stuff in here. I really should just taken this apart from the get-go, and I did it out of excitement. But there was so much just in between these two connections that could have caused a fault all on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together here, and I'll turn the camera back on when I know a little bit more. Alright folks, well I've got this thing, I'm putting this thing back together, and I've got it kind of cheated here. Don't try this at home. Everything seems to be working now, so the mystery continues of why it wasn't turning on. But we're going to put together, and hopefully when I turn the camera back on, you're going to have a demo video. Well, I got this thing back together, and it's needs a micro switch, but we're going to do a pickup test with the usual stuff: the cat litter, flour, breakfast cereal, and fresh dog hair. And as you can see, it snow plowed a little bit of the big stuff, but it actually picked it right up as it went forward. The large debris pickup on this nozzle is actually pretty good. and I can't see anything left behind. All right, talking about the maneuverability and what this nozzle is like to use. Now this wand telescopes very nicely into a large position for a large person. If you've used a TriStar, this nozzle's like that, or kind of like an Orc Classic in that manner, that you have to step on the nozzle and then it works. Now, the nozzle will actually maneuver without engaging the swivel neck. There is a detent that you feel when you turn the swivel neck left or right from center, which is kind of nice when we're using this. The nozzle also gets pretty low. It doesn't get the lowest, but it gets low. It gets under my bed and stuff just fine. It's just overall very nice to use. A good friend of mine who's a collector was over, and he was really impressed by this nozzle and just how easy and maneuverable it was. He was suggesting that he wanted to find one just to daily drive. So working on this nozzle gives you kind of a bad taste for what it is, but actually using this nozzle, it's really, really good. The end user experience of this nozzle makes me wish they didn't discontinue it, even as weird and strange as it is. Now, the Fuffa dog has come to join us. Hey, Fuffa, say hi to the camera. Oh. It does not stand up in the tallest position. You have to telescope it down for it to stay up. Meanwhile, hey, Fuffa. Fuffa, sit. Good boy. Shake. Other paw. Gushy Fasha. Gushy Fasha. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Gushy Fasha. Oh, good boy. And in Chinese, that means I hope you get rich. It's the New Year's greeting. And Fuffa actually means to make money. So a very ironic name for the dog that we got in the year of the dog. Anyway, since he just started to join us, I thought I would bring him on camera. He's very, very concerned with what's going on outside. There's a dog being walked across the street. Using the nozzle on stairs is very different. It's just wide enough that it overhangs, that it's not super convenient, but it does do a great job. And transferring between the low pile of my stairs to the high pile of my carpet to area rugs, it does very well with transitions without having to even adjust it. In fact, I really can't feel this adjustment when you use it. It's almost like this adjustment is non-existent. So I would say it kind of auto-adjusts with that free floating, and that just adjusts the rebound of this nozzle. So this wand allows for, you can see it says MD, so 2 different brands to hook into the standard central vacuum fitting. So I think that's really nice. The telescoping part of this wand seems high quality. It's stainless steel. The top is riveted into place, and the bottom has a screw hole for access in there for some reason. So I look forward really to getting a bare floor tool on there. And when we go to the rest of the nozzle here, you can see that reference point I was talking about where it indexes when you turn that. You can see the manufacturing code. As I stated earlier, it appears to be a 2003, and you can see the lack of screws in part of the unit. Now, there is a wear item in here, and that wear item is a squeegee that sits in here. You can't see it right now, but that does need to be changed out occasionally. Now, I have vacuumed my house with this twice. And one thing, pull this off. One thing I've noticed, it is really getting sticky on there. All right, is the amount of hair buildup on this is unusual compared to my Vissel work. So that is one thing to note. And the hair that builds up in the bearing and stuff, there's quite a bit. Even though I have the increased airflow of the machine with the central vac on the end there. Well, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon and subscribing and sharing our videos on YouTube. This really makes this channel happen and makes things like this possible. You know, your contributions as Patreon supporters, it means the world to me, and it really, again, helps keep the channel going. You know, things like batteries, SD cards, various camera equipment, things like the microphone, the lapel microphone I'm using. Being able to use that and have that to bring you this content is really awesome. And again, thank you guys so much for all your support. And big thank you to Fufa for joining us on this video today. Please like, subscribe, comment below.